the only way you can create prosperity for your people is when each family, as Mama was saying here, is when each individual, each family, or a company produces a good or a service, bidhaa au huduma, ndio tunasema kwa Kiswahili. If each individual, each family, each company produces a good or a service, here in our language we add another something else. We say with echivaro. But then the next question is, if you produce a good or a service with echivaro, who will buy those goods and services in big quantities? Who will buy? Because if you produce and very few people buy, or nobody buys, you will not succeed, you will fail. Now, when we analyze it, because in the 1960s, we had the big diversions with some of the leaders preaching politics of identity. Politics of identity, of tribe, religion, gender chauvinism, and etc. If I didn't care about Uganda, even if I cared only about my community, I would love Uganda, because my community can only be prosperous with Uganda, or can be better prosperous with Uganda than without. So this is principle number one, patriotism. When you are answering the question of why integration, why? Why don't you think of working with other brothers in East Africa? Maybe they could buy these products, some of these products. So I think some people have started waking up and knowing that for prosperity, the communities in Uganda need Uganda, they must love Uganda, the communities in Kenya must love Kenya, Tanzania must love Tanzania, must love Somalia, love South Sudan, love Rwanda, Burundi, love Congo, but also love East Africa, Wanange. Why you love East Africa? Because you need it for your own good. Whether you like my face or not, you need me. You need my purchasing power. Mfuko wangu uko na kitu ndani yake. Kama unataka kuwa vizuri kwako, nitazame vizuri. I can contribute to your prosperity by buying your product. And you can also contribute to my prosperity by buying my product, which I have. And this trade is ancient. Even before the Europeans came, we had a trade from the East African coast, Zanzibar, Bagamoyo, Dodoma, Tabora, Uganda, or the market of East Africa. No. So that's why we pointed out to our people here, you need to undergo socio-economic transformation. You must become modern societies. You are teachers. You are educationists. Those who teach history would have heard of the Renaissance in Europe by the time of the Renaissance in Europe, 1400, Europe had a three-class society. You had the aristocrats, the feudalists, you had the artisans, the blacksmith, the what, all those people. And then you had the farmers, the peasants. That was about 1400. But by 1789, the time of the French Revolution, Europe had undergone social metamorphosis. Metamorphosis is a process in biology to do with insects. Insects, they start as egg, the egg hatch and become caterpillar, pupa, then mature butterfly. Society also metamorphoses.
The meeting marks the first regional ministerial conference for higher education to review the journey we have walked since inception of the common higher education area. I believe that the review of our common higher education area during this conference shall also help us answer questions such as, one, the first extent to which, as East Africa partner states, we have made our common higher education area not only competitive as an attraction for both students and academic faculty, but the private sector too, as true partners of development. Two, the extent to which the common higher education area has become a catalyst for the various efforts by the respective partner states to bring about socio-economic transformation of their own people. Therefore, as ministers responsible for education in the region, we do not see ourselves as only policymakers, but stewards of a shared vision of socio-economic transformation of our people. We see higher education both as an enabler as well as a critical building block in this house we call the East African community. Relatedly, the people for whom we are here to serve in our respective capacities perceive relevance of the common higher education area from their own perspective. The young people want to witness mobility of talent and mutual recognition of qualifications amongst East African partner states. The private sector perceives relevance of a common higher education area as being responsive to industry and job market by way of producing inventions and innovation services and products that will add value to the consumer's experience. Lastly, the governments. The governments will appreciate relevance of a common higher education area when this subsector becomes a source of pragmatic policy solutions to the pressing problems in society aspiring for socio-economic transformation. This implies, therefore, that our aspiration for an integrated higher education area is purposeful because it does not seek to fulfill the self-interests of higher education per se, but the greater good of the more than 300 million people in East African community.
At this opening of the first Regional Ministerial Conference on the East African Community Common Higher Education Area, allow me, first and foremost, to thank His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, President of the Republic of Uganda, for his visionary leadership and his steadfast commitment to the East Africa integration agenda. Your Excellency, you are rightly recognized among the founding fathers of the modern EAC, and your presence here with us is a testimony of your unwavering support to regional unity, prosperity, and transformation. Our chief guest, distinguished delegates, today is historic. It marks the first time that ministers responsible for higher education across our community have gathered specifically to deliberate on the operationalization of the East African Community Higher Education Area since the declaration was made by the heads of state of the EAC partners. Reflects our collective recognition that education is not only a national responsibility, but also a regional public good, a shared platform for building the skill, human capital required to drive the EAC socio-economic development and as envisioned in our strategic development blueprint. By working together, our higher education institution can break barriers, harmonize standards, and unleash the full potential of our youth, academic, and researchers. Your Excellency, the journey toward a common higher education area is deeply rooted in the EAC Treaty. Article 102 of the treaty commits partner states to foster collaboration in education and training.